I received a phone call at exactly 3:47 a.m. that I will absolutely never forget as long as I live. Before we begin this journey, I need you to do something very specific for me right now. Please comment your specific city name below and tell me honestly, have you personally noticed anything unusual in the night sky recently? Strange lights, geometric patterns that shouldn't be there, or movements that defy physics? NASA is currently and quietly collecting reports from civilians around the world, and they urgently need to know where these phenomena are being seen. What I'm about to share with you may fundamentally change the way you see humanity's true place in the universe. The voice on the other end of that early morning call was noticeably shaking. It belonged to Dr. Sarah Chen, a close colleague at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, someone I have known and respected for nearly 2 decades. She is a woman whose composure I had never seen crack, not even during the most intense high-pressure moments of the Voyager mission updates or the critical Mars landing sequences. But that night, her voice carried something I had never heard before. Terror, pure, unfiltered terror, mixed with what I can only describe as a reluctant awe. "Michio," she said, and I could distinctly hear her breath catching in her throat. 3I Atlas just emitted a pulse, a directed pulse, and it didn't dissipate into space. It hit us. It hit Earth's core. I immediately sat up in bed, my mind immediately racing through the impossibilities of what she had just said. 3I Atlas, the interstellar object that entered our solar system in late 2024, the one that astronomers had been tracking with increasing unease for months, the comet that wasn't behaving like any comet we had ever observed in history. It had already violated several fundamental assumptions about interstellar objects. Its trajectory had been adjusting, subtly, almost imperceptibly, but adjusting nonetheless. The scientific community had been sharply divided. Some called it outgassing, others pointed to gravitational perturbations, but a small group of us, those willing to whisper in private conversations, wondered if we were witnessing something else entirely. But a pulse? A directed energy emission that somehow penetrated Earth's crust, mantle, and reached the molten core of our planet? That should be theoretically impossible. I am a theoretical physicist. I have spent my entire professional life studying the fundamental laws that govern our universe, from the complexities of quantum mechanics to the elegance of string theory, from the birth of stars to the violent death of galaxies. I have always believed that the universe operates on principles we can understand, equations we can solve, and mysteries we can eventually decode. But what Sarah told me next challenged every single assumption I had built my career upon. The pulse wasn't random electromagnetic radiation. It wasn't a burst of charged particles or cosmic rays. The data showed something that made the entire team at JPL go completely silent when they first saw it. The pulse was structured, modulated. It carried information encoded in a frequency pattern that seemed to resonate specifically with the iron-nickel composition of Earth's outer core. And here is what keeps me awake at night. The pulse didn't just pass through our planet, it interacted with it. It caused a measurable, though slight, increase in the core's rotational velocity. For exactly 47 seconds, the very heart of our world spun faster. Then the signal abruptly stopped. I flew to Pasadena the very next morning. The Jet Propulsion Laboratory was in a state I had never witnessed before. Security had been tripled. Entire research wings were closed off. The usual open scientific discourse that characterizes institutions like JPL had been replaced by something that felt more like a covert military operation. When I finally made it to the secure analysis room, I understood why. On the screens before me were visualizations that seemed to belong to science fiction rather than scientific observation. The pulse from 3I Atlas had been detected not just by our seismic monitoring stations, but by gravitational wave detectors, deep ocean hydrophones, and even by magnetometers measuring Earth's magnetic field fluctuations. Whatever had happened, it was a planet-wide event. More than 30 independent sensor systems operated by different agencies in different countries had all recorded the same anomaly at the exact same moment. But it was the spectral analysis that made my hands tremble as I reviewed the data. The pulse contained frequencies that matched with unsettling precision the resonant frequency of water molecules, the vibrational signature of DNA base pairs, and the electromagnetic patterns associated with human neural activity. It was as if something had sent a signal specifically designed to interact with life as we know it. Not just any life, our life, human life. Michio, Sarah said, pulling up another complex data set. There is more. The pulse wasn't the first communication. We went back through our archives, every piece of data we have collected on 3I Atlas since it entered the solar system. We found something we missed. It has been broadcasting for months. A low-frequency signal just barely above background noise, easy to dismiss as instrument error or cosmic interference. But when we isolated it and cleaned up the data, she played the audio interpretation for me. I am not a man prone to religious sentiment or supernatural thinking, but what I heard in that moment made me question the very nature of consciousness and intelligence in this universe. It was a countdown, not in any human language, but in mathematics, the universal language that any sufficiently advanced civilization would recognize. Prime numbers, Fibonacci sequences, pi calculated to 10,000 digits, and then, embedded within these mathematical proofs, was something else. Coordinates. Not spatial coordinates pointing to a location in space, but temporal coordinates, a specific date and time, the exact moment the pulse hit Earth's core. 3I Atlas had been announcing its intention. It had been telling us, in the only language that transcends culture and biology, that something was coming, and we had missed it. We had been so focused on analyzing its unusual trajectory, its anomalous composition, its defiance of conventional comet behavior, that we failed to recognize we were looking at a message. I need you to understand something about the nature of interstellar travel and communication. Space is vast beyond human comprehension. The distance between stars is measured not in millions of miles, but in light years. The distance light itself, the fastest thing in the universe, travels in a year. For an object to arrive in our solar system from interstellar space, to navigate the gravitational chaos of the Oort cloud, to adjust its trajectory with precision, and to emit a signal at a specific moment calibrated to interact with Earth's geology. This requires intelligence. This requires purpose. This requires technology so far beyond our current capabilities that comparing it to human engineering is like comparing a stone axe to a quantum computer. The implications were inescapable, and every scientist in that room knew it, though none of us wanted to be the first to say it aloud. 3I Atlas was not a comet. It was a probe, a messenger, and its message had just been delivered directly to the core of our world. Over the following weeks, as analysis continued under the highest levels of classification, a picture began to emerge that I find difficult to articulate without sounding like I've abandoned scientific rationality. But the data doesn't lie. Data doesn't care about our comfort or our preconceptions. Data simply is. The pulse had caused changes, subtle but measurable. Seismologists began reporting unusual patterns in Earth's magnetic field, fluctuations that seemed to carry their own structure, their own information content. Biologists working with deep ocean extremophiles started noticing behavioral changes in organisms living near hydrothermal vents, life forms that exist in the most extreme conditions on Earth, closest to the geological activity of the mantle and core. These creatures, which had followed predictable patterns for as long as we had been studying them, were suddenly exhibiting coordinated movements, gathering in formations that, when viewed from above, resembled geometric patterns, mathematical patterns, the same patterns embedded in the original countdown signal from 3I Atlas. I found myself working 20-hour days, collaborating with experts from fields I had never expected to intersect with theoretical physics: geologists, biologists, neuroscientists, even consciousness researchers and philosophers. Because what we were seeing suggested something that fundamentally challenged our understanding of life, intelligence, and communication. The pulse hadn't just hit Earth's core. It had activated something, or perhaps reactivated is the more accurate term. It was as if Earth itself, the planet, the geology, the magnetic fields, the very systems that make terrestrial life possible, had received an update, a cosmic firmware upgrade. Then came the discovery that changed everything. A team at the European Southern Observatory had been tracking 3I Atlas with radio telescopes, trying to detect any follow-up transmissions. What they found wasn't another signal from the object itself. It was a response from Earth. Our planet was broadcasting back. The signal was emanating from multiple points deep within the crust, from tectonic plate boundaries, from volcanic hotspots, from the mid-ocean ridges where new crust is formed, locations that correspond to the most geologically active regions of our world, places where the interior of Earth connects most directly with the surface. And the signal was growing stronger. I remember sitting in my office at the City College of New York, staring at the latest data and experiencing something I can only describe as existential vertigo. Throughout my career, I have contemplated the possibility of extraterrestrial intelligence. I have written about it, theorized about it, appeared on countless programs discussing the Drake equation and the Fermi paradox, but always from a comfortable distance, always as an intellectual exercise. This was different. This was immediate. This was real. And it was becoming increasingly clear that humanity might not be the primary intelligence on this planet. What if Earth itself, the geological and magnetic systems that have existed for billions of years, possessed a form of awareness we had never recognized? What if the pulse from 3I Atlas wasn't a first contact with humanity, but a re-establishment of contact with Earth? What if we, biological life, human consciousness, were simply passengers, temporary manifestations of a much older, much vaster intelligence operating on time scales we cannot perceive, and through mechanisms we are only beginning to understand? The more we analyze the data, the more this terrifying possibility seemed not just plausible, but likely. Consider the facts. Earth's magnetic field, generated by the movement of molten iron in the outer core, has reversed polarity many times throughout geological history. These reversals follow no predictable pattern that we have been able to determine, or so we thought. But when researchers began comparing the timing of magnetic reversals with the fossil record, with mass extinction events, with the emergence of new forms of life, patterns began to emerge. Patterns that suggested the geological activity of Earth might not be random at all, but guided, purposeful. The pulse from 3I Atlas had apparently triggered a response from this planetary intelligence, this vast system we had been living on, studying, extracting resources from, never realizing we were examining the thoughts of something infinitely older than human civilization. NASA convened an emergency meeting of the world's leading scientists, not just physicists and astronomers, but experts in artificial intelligence, complex systems theory, emergence, and consciousness studies. The meeting was not publicized. You won't find any press releases or official statements. But I was there, and I can tell you that the conversation was unlike anything I have ever experienced in my scientific career. The question on the table was simple, yet profound beyond measure. Are we witnessing first contact, or have we just become aware of a conversation that has been ongoing for billions of years? One of the AI researchers, a brilliant young woman from MIT, presented a model that I found both elegant and deeply unsettling. She proposed that consciousness as we understand it might not be unique to biological neural networks. Any sufficiently complex system with feedback loops, information processing, and the ability to modify its own structure might develop something functionally equivalent to awareness. Earth, with its interconnected geological systems, its magnetic field generated by core dynamics, its biosphere constantly exchanging matter and energy with the geology beneath it, its atmospheric circulation patterns. All of this could constitute a form of planetary cognition. We might be living on a conscious world and we never knew. The implications for human identity, for our understanding of our place in the cosmos, are staggering. Every religion, every philosophy, every cultural narrative we have constructed about humanity's special place in creation, all of it would need to be reconsidered in light of the possibility that we are not the protagonists of Earth's story, but supporting characters in a much longer, much stranger narrative. But there is something even more disturbing in the data, something that keeps me awake in the hours before dawn, staring at equations and wondering if understanding is a curse rather than a gift. 3I Atlas is not alone. Since the initial pulse, our deep space monitoring systems have detected 3 more interstellar objects entering the solar system. Not asteroids, not comets. Objects with similar characteristics to 3I Atlas. Unusual trajectories, apparent course corrections, compositions that don't match anything in our solar system. They are arriving from different directions, from different regions of the galaxy, and they are all heading toward Earth. The governments of the world are now aware. There are protocols being developed, though what protocols can possibly prepare humanity for this, I cannot imagine. The public has been kept in the dark, fed stories about unusual comet activity and interesting astronomical phenomena, but nothing approaching the truth, because the truth is too vast, too paradigm-shattering, too likely to cause widespread panic. But I believe people have a right to know. You have a right to know. We are not the first intelligent species to emerge on Earth. We are not even the primary intelligence on this planet. We are the most recent, the most loud, perhaps the most destructive. But we are not the architects of this world's consciousness. That awareness, that vast and ancient intelligence, predates humanity by billions of years. It was here before the first single-celled organisms appeared in the primordial oceans. It will be here long after we are gone. And now, something in the galaxy has decided to contact it, to wake it up perhaps, or to recruit it for something we cannot yet comprehend. The seismic data from the past month shows that Earth's core is accelerating. Not dramatically, not enough to cause immediate catastrophic effects, but measurably, consistently, as if the planet is preparing for something, building energy. The magnetic field fluctuations are increasing in frequency and intensity. Auroras have been visible at latitudes where they should never appear. Animals are exhibiting strange migration patterns, as if responding to cues we cannot detect. Something is happening. Something is coming. I have devoted my life to understanding the universe through mathematics and physics, to reducing the chaos of existence to elegant equations. But standing on the precipice of this revelation, I find myself confronting questions that equations cannot answer. What does it mean to be human if we are not the measure of intelligence on our own world? What is our purpose if Earth itself has agency and intention that supersede our own? Are we children playing in the shadow of a parent we never knew existed? Or are we more like cells in a body, each thinking ourselves autonomous, never realizing we are part of something incomprehensibly larger? The probe designated 3I Atlas continues its journey through our solar system. It has not emitted another pulse, but it is still broadcasting that low-frequency signal, still encoding messages we are only beginning to decipher. And Earth continues to respond, its geological symphony growing louder with each passing day. I think about those ancient megalithic structures, Stonehenge, the pyramids, the massive geometric earthworks found on every continent. And I wonder if our ancestors knew, if some cultures, some civilizations now lost to time, understood that they were living on a conscious world and built their monuments not for human purposes, but as offerings, as communications, as attempts to speak back to the awareness beneath their feet. Perhaps the myths and legends about Earth as a living goddess, about spirits dwelling in mountains and rivers, about the planet itself having a soul, perhaps these were not primitive superstitions, but profound truths that we, in our technological arrogance, dismissed as ignorance. The universe is stranger than we imagined. It is stranger than we can imagine. And humanity is about to learn its true place in the cosmic hierarchy. As I close this account, I want you to think about something. Feel the ground beneath your feet right now. Consider that you are standing on the surface of a sphere of rock and metal that has existed for 4.5 billion years. Consider that this sphere has shaped continents, generated magnetic fields, supported the evolution of billions of species. Consider that it might be aware of you, not in the way you are aware of an ant crawling on your skin, but in the way a vast, ancient intelligence might register the brief, flickering existence of consciousness dancing across its surface. Does that change how you see the world? Does that change how you see yourself? The next phase of human history is beginning. Whether we are ready for it or not, the universe has sent messengers to Earth, and Earth is listening. The question is, what happens when it finally decides to speak back in a way we cannot ignore? Follow this channel as we continue decoding the universe's final warnings, as we track the arrival of the other objects, as we monitor the awakening of the intelligence beneath our feet. Because what happens next will define not just the future of humanity, but our understanding of consciousness, life, and existence itself. I am Michio Kaku, and I am both privileged and terrified to be alive at this moment in cosmic history. The age of innocence is over. The age of revelation has begun. Tell me, when you look up at the night sky now, do you still see emptiness? Or do you sense, as I do, that we are being watched, evaluated, perhaps even judged by intelligences so vast that our entire civilization is but a heartbeat in their eternal existence?